Welcome to Tailboard Talk, a fourth shift fitcast. The mission of Tailboard Talk and the fourth shift fitness is to educate and train fire service personnel to increase durability and decrease the potential for injuries and their associated costs. My name is Chris Morella, owner and founder of Fourth Shift Fitness. I'll use my experience as a personal trainer, strength coach, and 15-year veteran of the fire service to deliver tips, tricks, lessons, and information specifically geared towards the health and wellness of firefighters and paramedics. Each episode, you'll leave with immediate deliverables that will improve performance and resilience and keep you in the fight through your career and into retirement. Let's get into it. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Tailboard Talk, Fourth Shift Fitcast. And squeaking this one out today, I actually forgot that we had to do an episode. This past week absolutely flew by, just real busy. Nathan's birthday was yesterday. Memorial Day was yesterday. We had family coming over. All vaccinated family came over for a party the other day. So we just had a lot going on, and the week just flew by. But I had a topic in mind anyways, and I just want to get on today and talk a little bit about failure, because it's a thing, and it's a goofy thing, because depending on what you think failing is and where you get your motivation from, failure can be kind of screwed up, right? And I wanted to start with something that I've kept in my head for a good number of years now. I used to watch a lot of The Ultimate Fighter, that show, the competition UFC show. And one time they had Chael Sonnen on there, and he is a polarizing individual, great trash talker, borderline scummy individual, but fantastic at speaking, just a great speaker. And he was given a speech one time about failure. And I also made a social media post a while ago how I just don't like motivational quotes. They just don't resonate with me. They just feel fluffy and stupid, for lack of a better term. But there's one that I have, and that quote is that failure is always an option. And that came from The Ultimate Fighter, from that tough episode where basically he was saying they'll tell you that failure is not an option, and they're full of it, because failure is always an option. And he goes on to kind of explain that failure is not only always an option, it's actually the most readily available option. You can fail. Failing is the easiest thing you can actually do. You can just stop working and stop doing what you want to do and stop when times get tough and just fail. And you can just walk away from it and fail. That's so easy because it requires zero additional effort. But then he goes on to explain further that it's also a choice. And here's where the definition of failure starts to get a little more complex, but also a little more top shelf. It's not just a throwaway term anymore like a lot of people use it. And he starts to say that when you realize you're losing, realize you're going on the path of getting beat or not being able to accomplish something, then you get to decide if you're going to fail or not. So a failure would be abandoning all hope, blowing the game plan out of the water, forgetting everything that you were supposed to be doing, and just blowing up and losing all your bearing and failing, right? Now, you may still lose the fight, but if you make the good decisions, and he gave examples for fighting of keeping your chin tucked, keep moving, playing defense, sticking to the game plan. Even if you lose, that's not failing. That's just not winning. You didn't fail. You didn't completely abandon the whole game plan and sacrifice the outcome. You did what you were supposed to do, and it just wasn't enough. And that's the difference between failure and just not accomplishing a task. And what I see a lot of is people like to throw around the word failure as cool, sexy, look at me, look how often I'm failing. You should be failing 100 times before you accomplish something. I've failed every day of my life. All those things, they're not true. You may not be accomplishing what you want to. You're certainly not failing. Failure to me is, like I said, a top shelf word. It is like complete destruction, unsalvageable, no redeeming quality. It's the F in school, right? You failed. Like, you did not complete the course, you don't get credit for it, and that's final. You get an F, you fail. But a lot of people use it interchangeably with just, I didn't do so great, right? I'll give you an example. I've tried a handful of things with 4Shift. I've tried doing like the video tailboard talks. I've tried doing newsletters in the past, which I'll be doing again. A bunch of different stuff to try to gain traction or attract people, gain clients, and not all of it's worked, right? But I haven't failed at really anything yet. I mean, I still have the company. I still have the desire to keep going. I'm still putting out content. I'm still going to fire departments. It's just that those projects didn't turn out the way I wanted them to, so I adjust my tactic and I go try something else. But if I want to be like all melodramatic and cool about it, I'd be like, I've failed 57 times since starting Fourth Shift Fitness. And in the face of failure and adversity, I continue to push through. Just stop, man. You're not failing anything. You still got a house. You're still eating, right? You still got a company. You still got your projects you're working on. Some of them just didn't work out the way you wanted to. And that's where I run into a problem a lot with these motivational quotes is they just romanticize all these top shelf terms, but they also define them down. There was a book, and I didn't really read it. It was called Courage. I think it was by John McCain. And he essentially, from the little bit I read, what I remember was he was very concerned with the defining down of the word courage. Like, he was very annoyed and very concerned that this top shelf term of courage was being basically bastardized and given to very non-courageous acts. And he gave examples of things that people would say are courageous, like, you are very courageous for starting a diet, or you were very courageous the way you got up and spoke about something. And then he would give these just, incredible stories of heroic acts in war and all that. And he would say, these people were courageous. These people had courage. You deciding to wear yellow shoes and feeling nervous about it is not being courageous. So that was the crux of the book. I don't want to get too far off the point here, but I feel like the same thing goes in with failure. People define down the term failure, and it gets a lot of love, right? Because people are like, oh, you have such great perseverance, and in the face of failure, you succeed. But really, it's not failure. It's just stuff didn't go as well as you thought it would, and you're just kind of pandering for more attention. I don't mean to sound like a downer on this, but that's what I feel of. That's what I feel like, right? The other one that kind of sticks with me is how people say you should embrace failure, and failure is your greatest teacher. You don't lose, you don't fail, you either win or you learn. Again, man, that's all just not true. I don't think. It feels good to say, right? But I'm also here to let you know, like, failing sucks. Like, failing really sucks. And it's okay not to want to learn something from that or feel like you learned anything from it besides how much it sucks. And to think that you should embrace that, I don't know, man. I kind of feel like that's something you should actively try to avoid. You should actively try to avoid failing. Now, I think that just, again, like I said before, defining down the term failure lets you say, like, oh, you don't lose, you don't fail, you win or you learn. That's not failing. That's just not doing so great at something and trying to gain a lesson from it. But failure is different. Failure is life-changing, future transforming. Failure is for real. And so if somebody actually fails, they're not going to be making motivational quotes about it. They're going to be trying to pick up the pieces of what just happened. And that they might learn something, right? But not immediately. That's not a feeling you're going to just be like, oh, my life fell apart. I guess I'll learn. No, failure is for real. And so while you go through Facebook and Instagram and all the other platforms of just chaos, right? Keep that in mind. Don't feel shamed because you don't feel bad about something not working out, right? That's okay. Sometimes things don't work out and you got to pivot and move on. And also don't feel ashamed that if you do actually fail at something, don't feel bad that you hate the feeling of it and you don't want it and you don't want to embrace it. That's okay too. Because chances are that person that's telling you to embrace it and learn from it and move on, the examples they're giving their failures aren't real. They're not real at all. They're trying to be motivational. They're trying to be inspirational. All well and good. Appreciate that. But they're probably defining down that term of failure to something more relatable and palatable. And when it comes to actually failing, they might not have a ton of experience. I'm not saying I do. I failed a handful of times. Just, a handful, like major failures. But like I said, I've just not succeeded a handful of times, probably more than a handful, a large number of times, but it haven't been failures. They've just been stuff that didn't turn out the way I wanted to. I don't mean to keep saying the same thing and repeating myself, but this is one of those things that can really get sent down the wrong path. Like I said, if you aren't broken, like mentally and emotionally by what happened, it probably wasn't a failure. It's probably just a bummer. I'll give you another example, and I don't mean to speak out of school here. Ryan Maines just completed the Run for Our Lives run this week. It originally was supposed to take place last week. If you're in the Midwest last week, you know that it was like 90-something degrees and 80-something% humidity. It was brutal. It was like Tampa in July weather. It was brutal here, and it happened in the course of like 2 days. Like it sprung from 70 degrees to 90 plus with 80 plus humidity. And Ryan set out and he started running for his 115 kilometers for Run for Our Lives to gain awareness and support for firefighters and paramedics who had committed suicide the year prior. 115 kilometers for the 115 who had committed suicide. So we started at midnight on the 22nd. By about 3 in the afternoon, after running through that heat for about 8 or 9 hours, more or less, he was just destroyed. Like his body was shutting down. They started an IV on him. It wasn't helping. And so he had to stop the run about 15 kilometers short of the finish line. That's not a failure. I don't think that's a failure. First of all, because he completed it a week later, right? But in my mind, that's not a failure. He didn't complete the course that day. But the run, in all honesty and fairness to Ryan and the Run for Our Lives campaign, the run is an attractive part of the puzzle, right? It's something you can get behind. It's something you can advertise and people can get behind and support Ryan and support the cause and raise a lot of money for the Illinois Firefighter Peer Support and do a lot of good with the mechanism of the run. But that other stuff I talked about is the goal, right? Raising money, raising awareness, building community, offering help to people that need it, making an impact on lives that would otherwise be lost or severely hampered if Ryan wasn't there. That's the goal and that's the victory. Not completing the run isn't a failure because you already accomplished the objective. And I shouldn't even say that. Not completing the run on schedule like you planned to isn't the failure because you did already accomplish the objective. You completed your goal. You met the objective that's going to do the most good. And now this other thing that's an attractive part of it didn't work out. Not to mention, he finished it a week later when he was recovered. So yeah, you could sit back and be like, I failed that run on that day. I'm a failure. The campaign was failed. Not true. Not true at all. That part of the campaign didn't work out the way you wanted it to. Overall, that campaign is an enormous success with incredible impact and outreach. And so that's what I'm talking about. Even something as large as that, where you have the attention of so many people and you've promised this thing to so many people and it seems to be the crux of what this entire thing is all about, and then it doesn't work out, that's not a failure. That just didn't work out. You accomplished other tasks and other objectives that really, really matter and that really, really will make a difference. That's a success. And I believe that. I believe that with a lot of stuff. There's a million different examples. We could go on and on examples at work, at home, personal ventures, business ventures, all sorts of examples like that, right? But I think after 12 minutes of me rambling on about it, you get the idea. Don't fall into the trap of loving failure, accepting failure, or believing that the people that tell you that they're failing every day are telling the truth. Right? Don't fall into that trap. Don't let their little infographics and motivational quotes get to you. Right? You don't have to want to fail. You should want things to work out, and if they don't pivot, definitely do that. But you shouldn't want to fail because failure is a top shelf term. All right, guys. Hope that was a good one. That was just a sit-down ramble session. Like I said in the first episode, I don't want to be a negative person on here or slam anybody, but that I think that was worth saying, right? I don't know. You tell me. If you have different opinions on what failure is, or you think I'm full of it, or I'm off base, dude, I'm so down to have those conversations. I was surprised. After the last episode, the EAP episode, I had a handful of people reach out to me with different opinions on EAP. And after talking to them, after finding out details, I would have their opinions also. If my EAP was run like theirs, or if I was in the situation they were in with their circumstances, their experience is valid. My EAP is different than the ones that had issues with it. I've talked to a few people in my department who have used EAP since that episode, and they've all had good experiences. I've talked to, like I said, several other people from other departments who have had bad, downright terrible experiences. And after you get into it, it's a different system, different company, different way it gets handled. And so, yeah, I'm down with hearing those experiences and understanding that even though this is what I think, you may have a different perspective coming at me, and that's understandable. I'm always in for those conversations, so please don't hesitate to have them with me. That's pretty much what the Force Shift is all about. I mean, come on. Anyway, guys, all right. Got to get going. Kids are going to wake up soon. Still want to get a workout in today. If you have any questions, need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out, right? Find me on social media at 4th Shift Fitness. Same thing, my email, 4thshiftfit@gmail.com. If you're interested in having me out to your department, talk about training, talk about a little bit of nutrition stuff, do consumption course with you guys, hit me up. Let me know. I'm starting to be available for hire here as the world starts spinning again and it becomes safer and safer. I'm not as worried about bringing stuff home to the kids as we keep going through this thing. So shoot me a message if you're interested in having me out. If you're interested in being a digital client of mine, we can do one-on-one personal training through the Train Heroic app. Hit me up. We can do that too. All right, guys, that's enough. I'm tired of selling. I hope you enjoy this one. Hope you taste something from it. Like I said, reach out if you got a different opinion. Love to hear it. Talk to you guys soon. Be a Force Shifter.